see, Cindy, you're from a laboratory in Cadillac. Is that correct?
Yep, we are the municipal laboratory for the city of Cadillac.
All right, beautiful. We just actually did a kind of a one-on-one presentation earlier today with the city of Alpena. So we're hoping to, hopefully get a whole bunch of Michigan cities involved in this. So, so what I'm going to do is just go through a quick PowerPoint, and then I'm going to demonstrate the application just real briefly. I want to be, cognizant of your time and try and get this done in under 30 minutes. It would still leave room for some questions. So I'm just going to start right into a PowerPoint, and you can see my screen. Is that correct? Cindy, you can see the screen?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right. So first, a little bit about SampleServe. SampleServe has actually been a sampling company since 2001. We started out as a company that did sampling. We went out and specialized in, collecting groundwater samples, other types of samples. We started developing software for our own internal purposes, but we started getting customers that asked us if they could use our software. And so we kind of morphed into a software company managing sample collection data. And we actually released our first mobile apps in November 2019. So we've had some apps out there, very successful. They're actually being used all over the world right now since 2019. We've actually got 2 patents on digital chain of custody. It's the process of being able to collect a sample, have authentication. We're able to verify a user's identity through their username and password. We actually sign their name on the device, and then they take a selfie. We also collect a date and time stamp and a GPS coordinate, so we know with certainty the who, the where, and the when of every sample collected. This product that I am going to show you today doesn't have that full chain of custody in, but we can put it in if you feel like your laboratory needs it. So we kind of have a chain of custody light in our in the product that I'm going to show you now. And actually, we were voted top 100 tech companies in 2020 by a group called Red Herring. They're actually one of the older, more established tech organizations out of California. And they looked at our product and interviewed us a bunch of times and said, hey, you guys we consider you in our top 100 in North America. And then our sample collection growth has been growing about 34% per quarter over quarter since we rolled out our mobile app. So here's our value proposition. Using we call it our Sample H2O app, we can lower your costs of sample collection, make it easier to use, make your data secure. Even though it's online, it's a secure data acquisition. It's very organized. You're going to be able to see how you can search and find stuff real quickly. Real-time status, as soon as somebody collects a sample, you're going to be able to see that they collected a sample and that it's on its way to you. And then fast deliverables. When you need to get that report to your customer, we'll literally be able to deliver that report within a minute. So as soon as you're done with the data, a minute later, your customer has their lab reports. So the traditional time, a lot of labs, your lab might be a little bit different, but the traditional time spent on, I'm not talking about the analysis part, but just on the data login, entering results, and then creating and sending those reports, labs are telling us they spend between 10 and 20 minutes per sample when it comes to drinking water samples. Drinking water samples are a little bit unique in that they come in typically kind of one at a time, maybe a handful at a time, whereas in other situations, they might come in at 30, 40 at a time on a chain of custody. With our SampleServe app, we've gotten it down to, with our drinking water app, we've gotten it down to about 1 to 2 minutes per sample, so a significant savings on time and labor. And here's basically how it works. You're going to assemble a testing kit, and the kit can be customized by your lab. Maybe it's just bacteria alone. Maybe you're doing a full suite of drinking water parameters, nitrates, nitrite, lead, copper, anything else you want to include. So you'll create that kit. The customer then logs in. They don't really log in. It's called a progressive mobile app. They don't actually need to log in. Then they enter their collection information on a mobile device. And then you get that information automatically as soon as they hit submit. You are able to receive the sample just by typing in the sample ID. And then when you're done, they get the results, and that process is very efficient. All right, I should have been clicking these as I was talking. The lab view actually requires, so when the lab logs accesses this, they actually have to log in. You'll have your username and password. You'll prepare the kits. You actually can search the data by category. When you've printed the labels, you've collected the samples, you've received them at the lab, and when they've been reported. And then you're able to brand this with your company logo, your colors, everything you want. It'll look and feel like it's part of your laboratory. And that's kind of how we market it, is like you won't see our name on there anywhere. And so you're going to assemble your own kits. Like I said, you're going to have your name on there, and then you can create the kit. And here's a short video, kind of explains it a little bit more. So your name is on there. The ID actually connects everything digitally. You print the labels, create your own kit. You put your name on the label, and you can put your logo, and we can customize the information you see at the bottom as well. So the access to the form, when they enter in a sample ID, what happens on the mobile device, or if they're using a tablet or a desktop, as soon as they enter the sample ID, a form comes up about the sample collection information, who did it. There's no username or password required. We've got a way to verify the sample ID so that they can't accidentally type in a wrong ID, and I'll explain that in a second. So they then enter in all the information, hit submit, and then you actually will see then that they've collected the sample, and all the information is right there. So, and you only have to enter it once. Now, when the sample arrives at the lab, you have that information. You know it automatically, so it's there. As soon as they've collected the sample, that they collected it like 20 seconds later. So now the sample comes in. You verify that you've received the sample. You then process the sample. When you're done, you'll actually go back into the platform, enter the results. The method numbers, everything's already in there. If you're using a different method, you can change the method number. You enter the results, detection limits, all that stuff. We pre-populate kind of the standard detection limits, so there's minimal typing involved. And then you just simply, when you're done, you hit email the report, and the customer gets the report just seconds later. And we also maintain a database, and you can download all your raw data for whatever purpose you want it to, anytime you want to. So then the customer gets an email, a PDF. Again, it's just going to be exactly the way we can mimic exactly the way you report things now. Your logo at the top, your lab director signature on the bottom. It gets sent out as a PDF, as an attachment to an email, and all that stuff is right there. And the onboarding with our process is actually very simple. We reach an agreement on price, and how many, when the price is going to be dependent on how many samples you collect per month. You then have to get set up with the hardware. We'll help you, help you purchase the right printer. We also got to have access to your email account just temporarily, so that we can make it so that the reports that get emailed to your customers actually come from your account. We can do that real easily. And then we, add your brand and logo, test the functionality, and then we train your staff how to use the software. It's actually very simple, so the training doesn't take very long. And then you start assembling kits. You start putting these kits together, and then each kit will have an instruction. When they access this app, they're going to go to your city's or your lab's website, and you're going to direct them where to go on that little instruction slip that's in the sample kit, which website to go to. They're going to click the button, and then the thing pops up on their device. Again, it's a progressive web app, so they don't have to download a app on their phone. It's like basically a kind of a fancy website that knows what kind of phone you use or what kind of device you're using, and it scales and acts like an app, but it's not an app you need to download. So then they enter the information, and then it's real simple. So we'll help you prepare that instruction kit as well, and then then you just start distributing the kits and start receiving samples and sending out results. It's actually pretty simple. Okay, so one thing I want to show you real quick is I actually sent myself a sample just a minute ago. I'm going to show you what you can see here. This is a email I sent myself that I got sample data collected successfully. I just did this just 29 minutes ago. I collected a sample, and then I prepared the report and sent myself the report. So here's what the report looks like that I just sent myself. I'm going to download that. It'll pop open here up on another page. You drag it over here. And so here's my report that I just emailed myself. Actually, it's a one I sent earlier today. Oh, yeah. So here, nitrates and any other chemical that I would have on there would have been, that was one I did earlier today. Let me find the other one. It's probably this one. Yeah, 27 minutes ago. So here's the one I just did. It had the full inorganics, nitrates, total coliform, E. coli. So again, we can make this look any way you want it to. And then whoever you want signature down there will be on there automatically. And so here's what it looks like. If you were to log in, you would actually, here's where you can print your labels and you can create kits, custom create a kit. And then you would give out the kits and you can print as many as you want. You can see here that you could search samples. You can see I printed a whole bunch of kits. I entered, this is the one I just did a little while ago. And then I received the samples, I type in the results and email the report. Emailing the report is just real simple. Here's what the customer would see, right? So they come in here, they just start typing in a sample ID, and we've got a sample ID checker. And so we can verify whether it's a legit, if I type a email in wrong or a number in wrong, it won't let me type in an invalid number. So it's a way to kind of check to make sure that we've got the correct ID in there. So that's it in a nutshell. Do you have any questions, Cindy? I've kind of went over that pretty quickly.
That's all right. I had looked at your information on your website also, so I had a little bit of a notion
Okay.
what I was walking into.
Yeah.
Pretty much, we're just at the beginning of trying to figure out what we need, what we can afford, minimum and maximum sort of, bells and whistles on a
Yep.
product for information management system is what we were originally looking at. I'll be honest with you, I was originally looking at ATL because I'm familiar with their product
Yep.
from a commercial laboratory that I came from.
Yeah.
I've been working for the city of Cadillac for about 4 years now, and we are just one step above stone tablets and chisels here.
Yeah.
So everything we do is stuff that I've created in the last 4 years, and it's all just a bunch of Excel spreadsheets.
Sure.
All talking to each other, sort of. But it's still a lot of redundant data entry and a lot of time spent data verifying, reviewing before things can go out the door.
Right.
So I do have kind of generic permission to look into getting a data handling system for the laboratory. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I received your email about this webinar, and that was honestly the first I'd heard of your product. And it looks like you haven't been doing it for too long. So I guess I didn't really miss you too much.
No.
The only thing that might make us different here than any other municipal laboratories you might have already dealt with, under my umbrella, I have a in-house drinking water laboratory, so the drinking water samples that are run on behalf of the city of Cadillac. Plus, I have a wastewater laboratory, so there's in-house wastewater parameters. We also have what we call a contract lab, but it's a public drinking water laboratory. So John Q. Public can walk in with their residential well sample. Well drillers bring us samples. Other cities who don't have their own certified laboratory bring us samples, that sort of thing.
Yep.
And then we have one large scale environmental project that's under the authority of the city. Our industrial park has a LDFA, local something financing authority. It's historic contamination in our city's industrial parks. So there's a project to manage that environmental project.
Yep.
So we have an environmental project where the analytical is done by an outside laboratory, but we have to manage that project. And then we have the wastewater, and then essentially the two versions of the drinking lab. Now, I know that's a little diverse, but in a perfect world, all of that is kind of under my umbrella. So if there was a way for me to manage all of that, that'd be fabulous. But I don't know if that's realistic.
Well, actually, Cindy, we, this drinking water is one product that we offer. We've got another one that is actually specifically designed for like wastewater collection, groundwater sampling. We
Mhm.
even generate all the reports right off of the data. That's kind of how we started, is in
Right.
that area. But then we started getting requests for things as simple as, for the groundwater stuff, you have to download an app on your phone and, but for the typical residential, right, they're just doing one sample. They don't
Right.
want to download an app on their phone. So we came up with this progressive web app that's basically just a website. They go to
Yep.
your website. And so the bottom line is we kind of custom create. That's kind of what our niche is. We are able to custom create software that's going to specifically suit your needs. Literally every customer we talk to has some kind of tweak they want to make to the
Sure.
product. And, we can do those pretty easily and pretty simply. And just
Yep.
to, let you know, to sign up with us, it's $1,400 to get started with us. And then
Mhm.
all we do is charge between $1 and $2 per sample, and we'll give you a quote. And so, there's no other ongoing fees. If you don't do any samples in a given month, you're not going to have a bill for that given month. So
Okay.
we just charge, between $1 and $2. How many samples a month do you think you collect just for the
Um,
drinking water side?
just on the drinking water side, so what I would call we call it our contract lab. So the samples that walk through the door from customers. So we don't actually collect those samples ourselves.
Yeah.
They walk into us.
Yep.
We collect. I'm looking at some numbers from last year. Between, I would say, 70, and I think our biggest month last year was um, looks like about 190 samples in a
Okay.
month, and that's principally the bacteria,
Yep.
the E. coli and coliform bacteria presence absence test.
Yep.
We do some of those are an MPN, a quantified number for the same bacteria test,
Yeah.
and then a handful of nitrate, nitrite, lead, and copper. I mean, that's literally the only parameters that we do for drinking water.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Um,
pretty common. And
yeah,
you're right up there with other cities your size about in
yeah,
terms of volume. So
yep.
yeah.
So
So
it just kind of depends. And then, on the wastewater side, we are doing actual sample collection. We have one operator whose full-time job is to collect samples from our industrial permit holders in
uh
town. And then so those are the only things that actually come in that would be comparable to a commercial sample. The rest of the chemistry that's under my umbrella is operational testing. So for the operation of the wastewater plant, there's all kind of operational parameters that they have to measure, but those are not reported or billed or they're just strictly in house.
yeah.
Sort of
Yeah.
thing.
And I would actually probably say for the wastewater side, especially you got a guy whose full-time job is just collect samples. Our
Yeah.
other product, our traditional, mobile app, and we actually have a lab app that works with that
Mhm.
as well. That's probably more suited for that, but for
Right.
the drinking
Sounds
water,
like
it
it.
would be the drinking water one. So,
Right.
I don't really want to make this about that other product, but I'd be
Nope.
happy to send you information on that as well. So,
Yeah. So yeah, so it sounds like there's some potential for this to be applicable to our situation, and like I said, I'm just at the part of the story where
yeah,
I learn who has what kind of product out there and if it would fit our needs, and then excuse me, does it fit our needs, and then of course, does it fit our budget? That's
right,
this is the
right.
second most important question.
Yeah, well,
But
yeah. I mean, I can tell you what we're seeing. I don't want to say it's necessarily your instance, but what we're seeing is that you're probably spending, a significant amount of time dealing with
yeah,
data, and we'll
yep,
be able to kind of free up that time so you can do other things. So,
yep,
most people are
definitely.
finding it's well worth the cost. So, anyway, Do you have any other questions?
Nope, that was pretty much it for right now. What do you suggest I do next to determine how
Well,
specifically your product might match up to our needs?
um, what I can do is give you an actual firm written proposal on, so you know exactly what you're getting and what the costs will be. And since I know your volumes now,
Hmm.
I'd be happy to do that. And then you can run that proposal up the chain in your, and I know city governments can be, they don't make decisions necessarily quickly.
No,
Um,
not at all. It just took us a year to buy a new instrument for our metals analysis. So,
right, right. So, and the only thing you'd really have to buy new here is like a printer. You saw a video
hmm,
of that laser or that label printer.
right.
It's about, depending on which one you get, three to $500 somewhere in there.
Okay.
But and then our initial fee and then the monthly fee. So, but you're probably only talking $150 a month total for us, in that
Okay.
ballpark based on the volume that you're talking about. So, um, it's from a labor savings perspective, I think it's actually quite a good value. But so let me give you that proposal.
Okay.
That'll start, I think, the chain of events for your situation, and then we'll just kind of stay in touch. And if you've got any additional questions, we'll go from there. I got your email from the invite, so
Yep.
I know how to send it to you.
Okay.
All right. Well, I appreciate your attending, and I'll also send you a copy of this video as well.
Sounds wonderful.
Great. Thanks, Cindy.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Bye now.